Gaslighting. Gaslighting occurs when someone tries to make another person question their perception of reality, their memory, and their sanity. The term comes from a 1938 play called Gaslight, in which a husband tricks his wife into thinking she is losing her mind by dimming the gaslights in their home and then denying that the lights are flickering when she notices. Gaslighting erodes the victim's trust in their own judgment by using deceptive lies, withholding information, and shifting blame onto the victim, all while denying the victim's perspective and insisting that the victim's account is false. Playing the victim. This tactic is often used, even by people who aren't abusive or manipulative, to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. The manipulator pretends to be the wronged or hurt party when, in fact, they are the ones at fault. By blaming others for their actions and seeking sympathy through exaggeration of their problems while refusing to take responsibility or admit wrongdoing, playing the victim can be very effective. This strategy forces the other person to confront the manipulator and assert that they are wrong in order to regain control of the narrative, a confrontation most people are reluctant to engage in. Playing on insecurities. Manipulators exploit their victims' fears and anxieties, deliberately fostering feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. By undermining their confidence, manipulators increase the likelihood of their victims falling under their control. Historical figures like L. Ron Hubbard, founder of Scientology, exemplify this tactic. Hubbard targeted vulnerable individuals, appealing to their insecurities with promises of personal transformation and enlightenment. He exploited their fears of the unknown and of rejection by friends and family, presenting Scientology as a path to acceptance and belonging in the world. This strategy facilitated Hubbard's ability to recruit tens of thousands of followers into his teachings. Isolation. Isolation occurs when a manipulator separates a victim from their friends and family, ensuring no support network can interfere with the manipulator's agenda. This is done by undermining the victim's relationships with loved ones and gradually turning them against friends and family, convincing the victim that these people are detrimental to their well-being. Additionally, the manipulator fosters dependency by making the victim feel they need their support or approval, instilling fear so the victim believes they cannot survive without them. This tactic is commonly employed by abusive partners, cults, and online predators. Silent treatment. The silent treatment is a form of manipulation commonly found in relationships, but it can also occur in workplaces, among friends, and online. It involves withholding communication or information as a form of punishment. A manipulator may avoid eye contact or completely ignore the victim's presence, even when they are in the same room, as a means of control. This tactic is similar to ghosting. Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping involves a manipulator making someone feel bad about themselves, their actions, or their inaction in a given situation. For instance, if a toxic person discovers they weren't invited to a friend's party, they might say, "I can't believe you didn't invite me. I thought we were closer than that," to evoke feelings of guilt and secure an invitation next time. Ghosting. Ghosting is very similar to the silent treatment, as both tactics involve a lack of communication between the manipulator and the victim. However, the key difference is that while the silent treatment is used for punishment and control, ghosting is often a passive and disrespectful way to end a relationship or friendship permanently. Although ghosting is not always intended as a form of manipulation, it results in a lack of closure, leaving the victim feeling rejected, abandoned, and confused. Shifting the goalposts. This is a common tactic in arguments where the manipulator alters the criteria or standards for success and achievement to evade admitting fault or taking responsibility. For instance, consider a scenario where a boss promises an employee a raise for completing a specific task quickly. However, once the task is successfully completed on time, the boss changes the terms, requiring the employee to complete 3 additional tasks to receive the initially promised raise. Similarly, a parent might promise a reward to their child for cleaning the house but later reneges, citing the child's grades in school as a new condition which was not previously discussed. Love bombing. Love bombing is a manipulative tactic where the perpetrator overwhelms their victim with affection, attention, and praise to create a false sense of being loved. By lavishing excessive compliments, gifts, and discussing grand future plans, the manipulator conveys intense emotions to make the victim feel they are the most important person in their life. However, the true purpose is to swiftly gain power and control over the victim. Additionally, Manipulators who use love bombing will create a strong attachment to the praise and then suddenly withdraw it, causing the victim to crave it and become more susceptible to the manipulator's demands. Historically, it is said that Adolf Hitler used love bombing techniques on his wife, Eva Braun, to keep her close while he pursued his destructive political ambitions. Deflection. Deflection is another tactic employed by manipulators, which shares similarities with projection. In deflection, the manipulator consciously acknowledges their own hypocrisy but redirects it towards someone else to evade accountability. In contrast, projection occurs when the manipulator lacks self-awareness and unconsciously transfers blame onto others. Drop your comments below and let us know if you've ever experienced any of these situations. Threats or coercion. Threats come in various forms. The most obvious are physical threats, such as the threat of violence or damage to someone's property if the victim doesn't comply with the manipulator's demands. Then there are emotional threats, like threatening to leave a relationship over a minor disagreement or threatening to spread damaging rumors about someone. Financial threats involve withholding financial support or threatening someone's financial stability, a tactic often used by hackers during data breaches. For instance, Colonial Pipeline, a major U.S. fuel pipeline operator, was recently targeted by a ransomware attack where hackers demanded $4.4 million in Bitcoin for the decryption key. Financial threats can also escalate into legal threats, with one party threatening to sue another. Lastly, social threats involve a manipulator threatening to tarnish the victim's reputation with lies, smear campaigns, and slander, which we will discuss in more detail later in this video. Projection. Projection involves attributing one's own thoughts and feelings to another person, causing them to believe they are responsible for what the projector feels or has done. This behavior is also referred to as victim blaming. Manipulators frequently accuse their victims of actions they themselves are guilty of, often without recognizing the parallel between their accusations toward others and their own behaviors. Triangulation. Triangulation involves the manipulator bringing in a third party to instill jealousy or competition in the victim, making them feel they must compete for the manipulator's attention. The manipulator may flirt with the third party and spend more time with them, intentionally excluding the victim. By fostering a sense of competition, the manipulator can create even more conflict by spreading rumors about the victim to the third party, turning them against each other. This leaves the victim in a vulnerable state, making them easier to control by either the manipulator or the third party. Aggressive jokes. Jokes often carry deeper meanings and intentions, serving as tools to manipulate a victim in various ways. In an article on Thought Catalog, writer Shahida Arabi explores this concept, noting that covert narcissists frequently make hurtful remarks disguised as jokes. This allows them to say offensive things while appearing innocent and composed. When the victim reacts negatively to these insensitive comments, they are often accused of lacking a sense of humor. These jokes cross boundaries by incorporating insults, sarcasm, gaslighting, and exclusionary remarks. Additionally, jokes at social events may isolate the recipient, portraying them as foolish and turning bystanders into unwitting aggressors. Shaming. Shaming, like threats, takes many forms. One form is public humiliation, where a manipulator makes negative comments about a victim in front of others or online to embarrass them. The manipulator might compare the victim unfavorably to others, making them feel inadequate and inferior, blame them for the manipulator's own actions, mock them to make them feel foolish and ridiculous, or openly exclude them from social activities and events. Emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail occurs when a manipulator employs threats, guilt, or other forms of emotional manipulation to exert control over the victim. Withholding affection is a prevalent tactic, where the manipulator withholds love and support until the victim complies with their wishes. Additionally, the manipulator may make promises or commitments to the victim only to later break them. Smear campaigns. The awareness of smear campaigns has become a prominent topic in recent discussions. Unlike many other manipulation tactics we've covered, smear campaigns typically involve accusations from politicians and celebrities that the media and the public are intentionally damaging their reputation for personal gain and attention. These campaigns aim to discredit the victim by spreading rumors and distorting their statements to portray them as untrustworthy and unreliable. Character assassination is a key component, as portraying the victim as immoral or unethical justifies any attacks against them. For instance, Michael Jackson frequently accused the media of portraying him as a pedophile, leading to widespread condemnation. Similarly, during his 2016 U.S. presidential campaign, Donald Trump consistently criticized the media for what he viewed as unfair attacks against him. Both cases illustrate divisive opinions, but regardless of personal views, they highlight alleged instances of smear campaigns targeting individuals. Infantilization. Manipulators employ tactics like a patronizing tone or excessive micromanagement to treat their victims as if they were children or infants, primarily to exert power and control. Such demeaning treatment can deeply demoralize a person, making it challenging for them to gather the courage to confront their abuser. Fake moralization. Fake moralization involves manipulators presenting themselves as having high moral standards and values to assert control over others. Generally, people are not inclined to follow someone who is overly authoritative or aggressive. Therefore, manipulators conceal their true intentions through various means, such as virtue signaling by publicly endorsing causes or charities to garner admiration. Despite projecting moral superiority, manipulators often engage in hypocritical behavior. Detecting and confronting this behavior falls upon the victim, which can be challenging in most circumstances, making it a difficult tactic to counter. Changing the subject. Manipulators often favor changing the subject because victims can easily be caught off guard by it unless they promptly recognize it and steer the conversation back on track. Like many other tactics we've discussed, the severity of this maneuver varies, but it's among several subtle tricks that, when identified, prompt victims to question whether deeper manipulation is also at play.